I'm back with marijuana activist Marc EMERY. Currently out on bail, he's awaiting extradition to the United States, where he's expected to serve a 5-year prison sentence for selling marijuana seeds to Americans. Joining Marc is his wife and editor of Cannabis Culture magazine, Jodie. Welcome.
Hey.
Jodie, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Marc that first day. Describe to me, what was it like? What did you do? Keeping in mind this is a PG show.
Well, it was exciting, but I never really think anything has happened until it does actually happen. So I'm always waiting for some sort of bump to get in the way or some sort of bureaucracy. But we got there and they said, well, just wait downstairs. So I waited there with my friends and we're looking through the door and it's getting dark and rainy out there. And Mandy, my friend who drove me out there, she goes, oh, look, there he is. And we ran out the door and he's being escorted by a cop, and we just ran right up to him and just held him and cried and kissed him, and it was just wonderful being there.
Strangely enough, much to my surprise, normally you'd think sex would be a priority after 52 days, but mostly food was. And I never actually missed sex in jail. I eventually didn't miss anything but being beside Jodie. I was so used to spending every waking moment of our life, 24 hours a day for 5 years at least, beside each other all the time. So when I spoke to her, it was wonderful hearing her voice. And what I really missed was the presence, just being beside her, like we are all day long. And then the first physical thing I really took advantage of was food. I think I ate at 3 restaurants the night I got out, just trying different kinds of food. Fish and chips the first time. And
Those fruit salads weren't enough in prison.
Well, the thing is, it's the same 3 fruits in 52 days, just apples, oranges, and bananas. So I love the look of a kiwi fruit, a mango. I was going all crazy.
And it was really wonderful bringing him to the vigil, as he said, because it was very emotional. A lot of people had been there every day, and they wanted to keep staying there longer, but we said, no, you can go home for now, but we might need their support again in the future.
What's nice is that everybody on the street's been remarkable, and I always have had a very nice reception throughout Vancouver and much of all my life here. But since I've been out, people have been particularly kind and wishing me the best, and somehow, having been away for 52 days, they can imagine that, well, it must be difficult to be the prospect of being away for 3 or 4 years, maybe, you know, because 52 days was clearly difficult for Jodie to do. And I watched her on the news the nights I was in jail, and it seemed difficult for her. And speaking to her, knowing that she has to run a business, campaign for my release, and our business has 20 employees, and you know, it's a lot for her to take on, getting my release, keeping the campaign to free Marc going, as well as run a business for 20 people, and do that alone, because we've, like I say, we've been together for 5 years, day in and day out.
Well, you mentioned the vigil. A lot of the people who have been outspoken supporters of yours are pretty young people, and you really do have sort of a galvanizing quality, and you know, you advocate for the rights of someone like you, who's, you know, a 50 or 51-year-old person to smoke. But a lot of people who are smoking pot are 15. I mean, how do you reconcile that? Does that concern you that you know, underage people are smoking pot as well, and some of them see you as a hero?
Well, I'm glad they see me as a hero, and their decision to smoke marijuana as opposed to anything else is a correct decision, because marijuana is the only thing that won't kill you. You're not going to drive dangerously on marijuana. You're not going to take your friends'
So you don't
lives
have a problem with someone driving high?
Well, first of all, I've driven all my life, never had an accident, and I think marijuana, once you're used to marijuana, not the first time you take it perhaps, but once you've smoked marijuana frequently like I have, it attenuates you to your surroundings. I don't believe you're impaired when you smoke marijuana. If we're going to have a discussion and somebody insists that you're impaired smoking marijuana, we will never agree on anything, because I don't believe I'm impaired. I believe that my consciousness is raised, my senses are more attenuated, so that I'm more aware of my surroundings, not less aware.
And impairment is based on performance.
If you're not performing, then you're impaired, but I've never had an accident. I've never driven dangerously. In my experience, you're very attentive to the speed limit when you've smoked marijuana. You're very attentive to passengers that you're responsible for in the vehicle, and you tend to drive very conservatively. So the idea that people are impaired when they smoke marijuana exclusively, I think, is false and wouldn't apply to me.
And as for young people using marijuana, a lot of them do start younger, but it's probably better than drinking alcohol. For example, I tried alcohol the other night, and it was an awful experience. It made me very sick. And a lot of young people should be able to have that choice to use something safer. But also the Canadian Senate recommended legalizing marijuana, and they said as young as 16 you should be able to make that decision. But again, it's also young people, they want to use it because it is illegal, because it's the cool thing to do.
And the reason parents object to marijuana use by young people is not because it's unhealthy. It isn't. It's because you talk back when you smoke marijuana. The reason marijuana is illegal, not because of health implications, it's because it creates critical thinking, dissenting opinions. It means you start rejecting the dogma. As soon as any young person smokes marijuana, they realize that their parents have been lying to them, their teachers have been lying to them, the politicians are liars, the priests are full of mumbo jumbo, and the cops want to put you in jail. And so all the authority figures you're told to respect, and then you smoke marijuana, and then you realize it's all hypocrisy. They're all enforcing these selective laws. I mean, why do the people who smoke marijuana go to jail and not the people who drink alcohol or smoke tobacco? Much more dangerous substances, right? So the person who smokes marijuana sees the enlightenment, sees a sort of self-awareness come upon them, all this knowledge they begin to have, and yet at the same time now they're subject to going to jail for that very same enlightenment. So marijuana people are quickly aware of a hypocrisy in society that punishes them, but not others.
Hmm.
Well, let me ask about the business, the seed business. Are you keep continuing that going?
No, the seed business stopped in 2005 when Marc was first arrested, so we haven't had anything to do with seeds.
I can't even talk about seeds, theoretically, let alone sell them. So we haven't done that for 4.5 years.
So the business that you're continuing
is our retail storefront, Cannabis Culture Headquarters, and we sell hemp clothing, hemp lotions, pipes, bongs, and glassware, a lot of books, movies, yeah.
So has someone filled, I mean, presumably there was clearly a market for seed.
There's 5 seed shots on our block.
So people have filled that void.
Well, people are selling marijuana seeds in the United States, and in fact, as you pointed out, there are other people in Canada doing the exact same thing, and they're not being extradited. And that's what's most offensive about this, is Marc carried out his seed business here in Canada at all times. He paid taxes to Revenue Canada. Health Canada knew about what he was doing.
And recommended.
All of Parliament knew what he was doing. It was widely known. And as soon as the police in Vancouver couldn't get him charged here in 2003, they asked for the United States, or worked with the United States, to have him charged down there. And
well, when that was starting, that was during the previous administration, during the Bush administration, which sort of advocated that whole war on drugs. Barack Obama has at least given lip service to being more open-minded about drug laws and loosening drug laws. Were you initially sort of hopeful that somehow an Obama administration would go lighter on you? And is there a chance that it could happen?
Well, first of all, there's a chance that change can happen with the Obama administration. With George Bush, John Walters as drug czar, the DEA, Alberto Gonzales as Attorney General, we're all working to stop any modernization of the drug laws. Whereas President Obama has indicated he won't get in the way of change. So if change happens in the Congress or at the state level, he'll accept those changes, which the Bush administration wouldn't. Well, that's very important because a lot of changes are happening at the state level. California is on the threshold of legalizing marijuana for all adults. That will change the paradigm when a state of 40 million people is taxing and regulating marijuana sold to everybody. And there's a lot happening in the Congress. Ron Paul, the greatest congressman ever, and Barney Frank have a bill to legalize marijuana for adults and has 70 co-sponsors. Not enough yet to pass it. But things are happening in a way that aren't happening in Canada. In Canada, we have a lot of new crime bills that we're going to put more people in jail for a lot longer periods of time and raise the cost to Canadians of an American-style prison system.
Well, we're out of time, but thank you both for joining us, and enjoy your time out.
I am. Thank you.